Hello everyone, and welcome to our video of intercultural management. Today we will talk to you about a very important topic, which is parents and children's relationship in different cultures. We have tackled this semester the topic of culture and what it means and how intercultural understanding is essential. So culture is defined as a set of beliefs, behaviors, traditions, and acts that distinguish one culture from another. Cross-cultural studies affirm that different behaviors and beliefs are implanted in different cultures, meaning that some beliefs are normative in one culture, but can be considered not normative or even unorthodox in another culture. These beliefs and behaviors and acts are considered some sort of heritage that is passed down through generations and are implanted and communicated into new members of each culture. Therefore, the act of passing the torch, in this case, culture, is a main duty of each parent to pass to their children. Thus, our choice of topic today, parents and children's relationships within different cultures. As we think that the backbone of each culture, the backbone of their knowledge and their heritage staying through generations is thanks to this relationship. So now we are going to tackle the following points. Collectivism versus individualism in different cultures, high power distance, also uncertainty avoidance. How are we going to do that? It's through discussion and commentary on certain videos and testimonials from different cultures that we gathered and collected. The countries are Egypt, Italy, Russia, and the Netherlands. Of course, correlating everyone to Morocco.
Regarding the interference, sadly, everybody interfere in the children's choices. Actually, in my opinion, I see that parents tend to try to bring the things right in the children that they fail to do in themselves. So, for example, everybody has to become an engineer, a doctor. Second, about the way the children are brought up. They are brought up just to mingle in, just to blend in the society. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to make a fuss. Regarding the respect, actually, Egyptian parents tend to care more about respect than ever teaching anything to their children. Respect is always number one for them.
So, as Amr mentioned, Egyptian parents interfere a lot when it comes to their children's decisions or choices, especially when it comes to their career. Every Egyptian parent wants their child to be an engineer, a doctor, which is basically the cliche standard for a respectable profession. This logic shows that Egyptian parents see their children as an extension of their own being or a property somehow, which makes them follow their requests as an obligation. When it comes to respect, Amr also emphasized the significance of the respect towards one's parents. He provided a very relatable example within the Moroccan culture, and it's that children are supposed to argue back and forth with their parents. I think that the resulting impression is that whatever the adults have to say is worth hearing, but children's views can be overlooked and ignored. So the general rule that guides the behaviors of the children is the total obedience to adults. He also mentioned that children are raised not to be different. They are expected to blend in within society, follow cultural norms, and not do anything that can possibly bring any sort of attention. In Egypt, also, the culture of leaving the family before marriage or leaving for studies is almost inexistent. Children continue to live with their families even after reaching adult age. So due to the factors that we just mentioned, it makes sense that Egypt scores a high score on power distance. Parents are in a position of power over their children. They live in the notion of saving face, since children are taught to blend in and not to bring any attention whatsoever. On the other hand, Egypt has a high preference for avoiding uncertainty with a score of 80, since children do not leave their parents' house until marriage. Individualism also is very low on this country with a score of 25, as parents intervene in their children's decisions. On the other hand, Egypt scored 80 and thus has a high preference for avoiding uncertainty.
Usually kids in Italy are quite free, I would say, because since they are teenagers, so maybe 14, 15, they can go around with a friend as they want. They can go out at night, and they can go back with their friends, or sometimes, since they're still young, about 14 or 16, parents pick them up in the evening if they go out at night, in this case. Well, about the question unique or blend-in, I think this depends on the family, but I think that the Italian school system is trying to make kids choose what they like to study.
So following up to what Safat said for Egypt, it is also very similar to Italy's case. As Esther mentioned, kids in Italy are usually very free to go out with their friends and stay late at night and having sleepovers, as long as their friends are trusted, of course. Also, moving out is a very popular concept in Italy. It just doesn't happen at an early age as other countries, because kids find more freedom and control over their lives staying with their parents until their late 20s, which actually tells us that the parents from individualistic cultures tend to raise their children under more authoritative styles with a bigger focus on negotiation, responsiveness. Kids in Italy are also very encouraged to be unique, and it shows in their educational system because they get to choose whatever they want to study from the variety of school programs they have, either theoretical or technical. This shows that Italian kids aren't stuck to a certain stereotype of becoming a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. If they want to pursue their dreams and passions, then they have the support of both their university and their parents. In such an individualistic culture, when parents get older, their kids aren't the ones who take care of them, and instead they bring an East European lady who takes care of all their needs, and if the situation actually gets worse, then their last option is going to elderly houses in which they're taken care of in a better way. Respecting the family, according to Esther, has been a thing since the early ages, even though it became less shown in parents to children relations, but it is still considered very important to them. Parents in Italy definitely have a position of power because their kids can rely on them in their daily life, even when they're grown-ups. In comparison to Morocco, with a score of 70, Italy has a score of 50, which means they tend to prefer equality and a decentralization of power and decision-making. Control and formal supervision is generally disliked among the younger generations, who demonstrate a preference for teamwork and an open management style. At a score of 75, Italy has a high score in uncertainty avoidance, same as for Morocco, which means that as a nation, Italians are not comfortable in ambiguous situations. In work terms, high uncertainty avoidance results in large amounts of detailed planning.
You can handle your life by your own choice.
Hey, my name is Helen. I'm from Russia, and I'm here to give a talk about relationships between children and parents in Russia. When kids are moving out from their parents' houses. This concept exists in our culture, and it happens when you are 18. It means that you're already an adult and you can handle your life by your own choice. For instance, my brother doesn't want to continue higher education, and it means a big disaster for my mother because, in her opinion, he have to get his higher education in order to be high qualified and professional and everything. She's not really happy with his choice, but he's already 20.
So, similar to Italy, Helen mentioned that moving out is an existing concept in Russia, even in a collectivist culture, which tells us that the new generation is trying more and more to break free out of the living with their parents' situation, even at such a young age, as she mentioned, her brother. So the pursuit of freedom is very much present, even if it's not a stable life with a stable job and a stable paycheck. Because being 18 is considered the beginning of adulthood, aka you can make decisions for yourself even if your parents are not approving. So again, normally in the traditional collectivist culture, blending in is considered the rule, but not always. In Helen's case, she was more encouraged to be whatever she wants, to become whatever she wants, with words of affirmation of her mom, as she said. You are unique, whatever job you want, you will succeed at because you are smart, you are beautiful, etc. Which shows that building a strong character is far more important than blending in. And being supportive is what motivated her to build a career for herself and follow her dream. So following the collectivist culture dynamic, the parents are being taken care of by their children as they're moving with them, and they also get to help with, as grandparents with the grandchildren. Finally, as usual, respect is a major pillar in the collectivist culture, and showing any signs of disrespect means that you are ill-mannered and you weren't raised well. In comparison to Morocco, Russia has a high power distance with a percentage of 93%, which means that the notion of saving face and the image of the family is very important in Russian families. In a collectivist culture, the rate of uncertainty avoidance is also very high. Therefore, the fear of the unknown has a high presence in the Russian culture.
Generally, let their children develop as they...
Hi, I'm Tom, and I'm from the Netherlands. And in my country, there's generally quite an egalitarian relationship between parents and their children. Parents generally let their children develop as they want to, and pursue the hobbies that they would like to. And yeah, children are generally left to kind of free to choose to do what they want. But of course there is mutual respect. So it's common for children to move out of their parents' house when they turn approximately 18 to go to university. Many people study in a different city and then just leave their parents' house, not to return, or maybe to return. And when parents get old, they generally go to a special elderly people house. That's it. Thanks.
On the exact opposite, in Dutch families, we can notice that, as Tom said, there is an individualistic approach within the families. So, for example, we can notice that parents are focusing that their children are more directed into what they want. They do not really put strict rules that they should follow within the families. So they have the freedom so that they can pursue whatever they want in life and have their own life choices, especially when they are 18, so that they have to move out for university, which is also going along the way with the individualistic system. We can also notice that within the Dutch families, there is an egalitarian relationship, which means that the power is shared between the partners. There is not like a certain amount higher for a certain person or whatever, but it is equally shared between both parties. When it comes to power distance, the Netherlands scored low on this dimension, of an average score of 38, which means that the following characteristics reign in the Dutch style, for example, being independent, as we mentioned, hierarchy for convenience only, and equal rights and superiors accessible, coaching leaders, and so on and so on. When it comes to individualism, as we said, that it is the main system that is reigning within families. So the Netherlands basically scored a high score of 80, so which means it is a very individualistic society. When it comes to uncertainty avoidance, the score is average of 53. So when it comes to this dimension, the Netherlands exhibit like a high uncertainty avoidance when it comes to maintaining rigid codes of belief and behavior, and are intolerant of unorthodox behaviors and ideas. So after all that has been said, we can mention that there are some specific similarities between the Netherlands and here in Morocco. So for example, when it comes to moving out when we are 18 or when we have to move to university and so on, we can find that this is very common in Moroccan societies. So this is a similarity between Moroccan families and Dutch families as well. But also there are some other differences. For example, when it comes to the freedom of choice of how children or what children need to pursue in their lives and make their own decisions, this is not something very common in Moroccan families.
Whether it's Egypt, Italy, Russia, the Netherlands, Morocco, or any other country, whether your culture is collectivistic or individualistic, the relationship parents-child will always find ways into exceptions. But what we must always remember is that it's a sacred and special bond that should always be cherished and appreciated.